Well, here we are back again. Not quite sure that it is quite as good an aspect, but nonetheless, we have gone to Studio 2. And we're probably flapping around a wee bit, but never mind. We are here and we made it. We're still broadcasting. And I hope that we will continue to do that. We have to do things a little differently now, but nonetheless, we've got. I don't think that we can get our I don't think we can get our backup videos, so we'll just have to motor on. This is partly my fault because I thought that I'd packed everything this morning. In fact, I had a few minutes before coming out. Perhaps what I've got to do is to make sure that I get out by the skin of my teeth, because I totally forgot the cord which powers up the studio camera. And so it's come on and it reminded me that we would lose power in a minute or two. And in fact, we're nowhere near through our broadcast time. It is 10:15. And I'm happy to say that it is a nice day, a very nice day. And I'm it's going to reach 19 today. We are yes, 19 and 21 tomorrow. So very nice. Although we do have here we are. We're back with having got the papers. Good. Okay. So essentially, I was talking about a Prince Regent, that there is some suggestion that Charles may become a Prince Regent, and if he does, good for him. It'll give him a taste of what being a king is actually like. He's lusted after it for many years, and never knew how long his mother would hold out. But I think what she's done extremely well up until now in her lifetime, and that is she is willing to compromise and to find a way forward without rocking the boat too much. And isn't it just as well that Charles has got a trial and error going for him? All right, the next few next newspaper is the Sun, and it reports that the Queen and Tom Cruise kicked off the Jubilee. And I suppose organisers think if they bring in a bit of glamour, a bit of Hollywood glamour, then everything is okay. But I have my doubts, to be quite honest with you. I think we've got enough in pomp and circumstance to keep things going, and we just have to the Sun says the Royal Windsor Horse Show, in which he made an appearance, that was the second time in 3 days. He gave everybody a lift, and he gave her a lift as well. But she can be seen that she was beautiful and brimming with confidence and good health. Some of us had speculated that when Prince Philip died, she relied upon him a great deal. That the stuffing had been knocked out of her. But I think it was just that she was so tired and so ill, and now she's back on top. The Daily Express. Aha. Boris warns the EU will act if you don't agree. Well, that's also tied in with the border between Northern Ireland and Ireland, which has become, well, it is said that it was always unworkable, but that's what compromise sometimes does. And I'm afraid that Her Majesty was saddled with that one. But Boris is trying to extricate us, and he's not doing terribly well right now, because reform is something that the powers that be, those that have got it good, as they say, who manages to hive off a few bits and pieces into their own pockets, are likely to want to change. However, he's told the EU that they get with it, otherwise we will just simply scrap our Brexit agreement and go almost like a rogue state. I'm not sure whether it's that sort of drastic action that is needed to get the thing right, as it was. Okay, the eye. Obviously, different people see this ultimatum of his in different ways. The eye is the PM's gamble risks a trade war with the EU. Well, the latest report this morning was that the Irish Prime Minister and our representatives, Boris's representatives, are actually seeing a closing of the mines on the thing, that they are not as entrenched as they were, and that it's possible that they will find some resolution to this issue. It's all a bit serious on Monday morning, but there we go. We don't make up the news. We only look at it. So the Prime Minister could risk a trade war, says the Eye. The Times. You're not the thought police. That's all I was told. It's suggested that the police have been getting far too reliant upon the issue of bend the knee and all that sort of things. It's tackling those things which are not necessarily breaking the law. And what the inspector of police said to them is, you're running around after all these things, and what you should be doing is you should be locking a few people up. You need to demonstrate that the law can be tough. So that is what the advisors to the Prime Minister are calling for, that we actually start to be thorough about that sort of thing. The Guardian, police chief accuses Home Secretary of power grabs. Well, you wouldn't expect the chief constables who enjoy a large measure of autonomy and stress to actually wave their arms and get on with what they have to do. So the police chiefs have been accused of not doing their job, not looking at real crime, but getting involved in the so-called thought crimes, the wokes bit. But what happens now is, or at least with these animals having started to get their act together. Now that the authority, the government, if you like, is accusing the police chiefs of not doing their job. The police chiefs have come back and sort of said, hey, hang on, what you're just doing is you're using this as an excuse for power grab.
Unknown caller.
And there is, we are unable to phone call. They happen from time to time. Because we're a one-man band, I can't really switch off the phones. I just have to wait for people to give up. So there's a real internal battle going on between the police and the inspector of police. So in other words, the government. And they anticipate that there may be some reforms of some sort. The Daily Telegraph, the Prime Minister accuses Brussels over the cost of living crisis. It says that the EU, because of its intransigence over some issues on Brexit, and particularly the Northern Ireland issue, have actually kick-started the cost of living crisis. They made life difficult for trading instead of trying to help in every possible way. And therefore, it is they who should bear responsibility for the fact that food costs are spiraling, energy costs are spiraling, you name it is spiraling. I think it's probably being a bit unjust, but nonetheless, you get the idea. And the Financial Times, the FT, now they focus on the fact that Sweden and Finland will be treated cautiously, but that any attempt to join NATO will be favorably looked at. Because Finland particularly is vulnerable, if you like. It has a border with Russia, and Russia could easily decide to invade, and it sort of made noises about how far its invasion of its neighbor states will go. And Finland was at one time part of the old Soviet Empire. An indication of that can be found where we have a plinth dedicated to Russian seamen who died here during the Crimea War, who were incarcerated in the old naval prison since lockdown. But also, it was an issue where the ratings, the seamen, were locked up in pretty poor conditions, and some of them lost their lives. Not so much because they fought with the warders. On the contrary, some of the officers were given a freedom of Lewis on their say so as gentlemen, that they would not try to escape. But the ordinary guardians and the seamen, the soldiers, the sailors, they were held in the most dire circumstances. and when it was cold, boy, was it cold. And so they lost, or we lost, many soldiers and sailors from amongst the prisoners. And there is now a memorial to those who were lost in St. John St. Castro churchyard here in Lewis. But it shows that the Finns have always been vulnerable to Russian dominance, and there is some fear that Russia might well try the Finnish borders and the Australian, Swedish borders. That's it. have to struggle a bit to try and get the right countries. So that's the way that it stands this morning. What we could do is we could take a break and we could go down to our favourite park. Oh, there we are. We're back. Automatically, we came back. So we are carrying on with our little chat this morning. It is now 10:29, and we we had all sorts of good things for you, which have gone by the board, I'm afraid, this morning. My only excuse is it is Monday. I have to be forgiven because. But I spent the whole of yesterday preparing this material, and now here it is locked away. I have no idea where, because on this particular backup machinery, it doesn't give me the same keys as the rest. But 10:30 it is, and we've made it through to here. So the next newspaper is the Metro, and it has taken the view that all men will be free. March for Liberty with me. Kiev will host a Eurovision contest. In other words, the moment that it fights for its freedom and has a statutory freedom from any Russian threat, is we have to be really careful. But it is grasping at the idea that the Eurovision song contest, which it sees as a unifying force, and I can't say that I necessarily disagree with that. I have not been much of a fan of the Eurovision contest. I've let them get on with it, and some of it has been very interesting. But we we do have to be a little bit careful about where we stand with what's going on at the moment, because on so many fronts is life difficult. I wouldn't want to be Boris Johnson. All the tea in China. He came on in a roll without anything, no problems in the world. We could do this and we could do that, and it was a prosperous country and so on and so forth. And then they took the economy apart. And then we had the pandemic. And then we had more issues of stagflation, inflation. Basically a problem with our cost of living, and particularly with energy prices. So he's been faced with a whole host of stuff. And for all the tea in China, I would not want to have been. It's tea in China. It's he who's stirred it all up. But in edible form, is that people will get on with their lives and their loves and their food and their drink. But we are in parlous state. We're in a parlous state. The Mirror. It switches its emphasis a little bit, and its headline says the victims of hate, and it goes across the pond to the U.S. supermarket killer, and the court cases. It says Peyton Gendron, who shot 10, he was dead in New York, wanted to murder the Sadiq Khan, the mayor of London. This man was obsessed with what he saw as evil, and we were the same. Now, I think that actually, if you're not a Londoner and you're going to London, be aware, be on guard that you don't get caught up in some sort of a nonsense where somebody points the finger and somebody else then starts a mini riot and the whole thing. It is so easy to get caught up in those sort of things. And it's so easy for those sort of things to happen, particularly with the wokes in charge, or think they're in charge, and pulling stunts, if you like, in trying hard to undermine the people who are trying to get on with life and trying to get on with the things, attacking the things that they should be getting on with. Right, so the Daily Star, flash, bang, wallop, because the Star says we are going to have a very hot summer in this year. And it's maintained this theme. Every other headline is about how hot it's going to get. And there is some evidence. It's bit by bit. It is 19 today, or going to reach 19. Tomorrow, it's going to be 21. And there is, although there is little bits and pieces of rainy days, like yesterday, generally speaking, the weather is fine. Going out and try it. Right, okay, gee whiz, what can I say? I think that we will try a little while at Susan's. It gives a good reflection of the town. (10:37), and we are officially into platinum year. I hate that word, platinum. I mean, it doesn't have the same gleaming effect as golden or silver or diamond or ruby. It seems to me to be a rather blah word. But anyway, we are well into now her 70 years at the top. And I think that no country could have had a better ambassador as the president, if you like, because that's what she is. If for those people who want to go royalty, blah 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 blah, she is our president. The big difference is that for most of our things, she is not elected. She is there by right. And that is always seen as a weakness by those who would have elections for a president. They are the power brokers. They are the people that would love to get their hands on a presidency because, boy, what they would do with it. I say that's where things are working well, and they are working well. Don't let it be altered by those who want to eventually hold the reins of a man of fear. So be very careful. And actually, here's one of the problems that we've got.
Well done, the energy companies. They're full of bright ideas to help their customers. Now they've made power so expensive that for an average house such as this, you can't afford to heat it. So you don't need appliances such as this. But that means you also don't need a fridge, because you can keep your groceries cool and fresh without it. The house is cold enough. Well done, chaps.
Well, there we go. We've got an energy crisis. We've got a war. It makes you wonder why we bother to wake up on a Monday morning. However, the human spirit is full of optimism and go get 'em, tiger. And we really need to get that positive feeling that all is not bad with the world, despite the myriad things. And not only that, a lot is around the corner. Because I personally, not that I'm any expert, but I was a business journalist, I can't see that we are going to get any relief from the recession and from inflation. It will reach double figures. We will reach the end of the year and find that our economy has shrunk. That all the good things that we have enjoyed have disappeared. And then we'll vote, and I suppose we'll vote against Boris, but that's beside the point. I sound as if I'm a Boris fan this morning. Well, I'm not, particularly. I keep looking around, though, to see who would replace him if we got rid of him, and I don't see that there's an easy answer in sight. And if there is, of course, is like the puppies in the nest. They are not, in any sense, giving support and succor to things which are very, very difficult to resolve. I mean, they've tampered with all sorts of solutions for energy crisis. They've tampered with all sorts of solutions for the economy, and none of them have worked so far. I'm not a bit surprised. I'm not a bit surprised. Right. 10:42, 10:43. I would love to be able to go to some of the stuff that we prepared, but I can't, and I'm sorry about that. It's mea culpa. Once in a while, I suppose, I have the head staggers, and I do something that's stupid. Only once in a while. Come on. But there are plenty of issues around, and those issues we need to keep an eye on. And indeed, we've just been through what the papers, what the headlines are saying, and which are reflective. I really should probably say that we'll quit at this point. I am unfortunately a bit held back from bringing you a lot of the legal things. I'm happy that we're able to just keep on broadcasting and we didn't go away, leaving you wonder what the hell had happened. But it is we are in a bit of a pickle. So there's quite a bit of activity in the hotel this morning. We are Mirador Television. We are broadcasting from the White Hart Hotel. And believe me, once again, I came in this morning and there was Jane after a hard weekend, but with a lovely smile on her face. And she was making me a cup of coffee. And, it's gone cold, but what the hell? I might as well just take a sip now and again. And it's significant, I think, that we are broadcasting from this lovely, gracious old hotel. And we do so because of our belief in freedom of speech and democracy. And there is a plaque on the hotel outside here that says that this was the cradle of American independence. And it is where Tom Paine was actually given a full license to preach his rights of man. He was a regular at the pub across the road, the Crown Inn, and was eventually banned because he kept coming in and buttonholing people at the bar to have them listen to his theories on the rights of man, where they should stand. And they got to the point where they said to the landlord that they weren't going to drink there anymore if he was going to let Tom Paine come in and spoil their own conversation. And so Tom was barred from the Crown. So he came over the road here and sat down and more or less said to the landlord, look, they barred me across the way. I would like to be part of your pub and your atmosphere because you're very good and you allow people to have their say. And so he came in here, and the story really is very well known. He eventually went off to the United States, which in those days was just the colonies, and he coined the word, according to historian Bill Bryson, the United States. But in passing through London, he waved, I think it was with Edmund Burke, or Edmund Burke was one of ours, but one of the American greats who tended to congregate in London because it was an intellectual centre. And he said there should be there, pointing to the Palace of Westminster, a chamber which should be called the House of Commons. Ring a bell? Now, all that really was formulated here. I mean, look at the rafters behind me. Those rafters have seen some things, but not least of which is they've seen Tom Paine kick and shout and scream in the name of freedom. And there is no question that press freedom, particularly, which really reflects society's freedom, is under a lot of threat. The legislation, intimidation, you name it, has all found its way into our lives. And trying to mute the voice of the press is very difficult, and it's not so easy. It's not so difficult to do if you have no conscience, because you are able to say to, if you own a newspaper, you say you don't support some of these things. Now, I would suspect that the owner of CNN, is it? Yes, CNN, has been Morning Cliff, and there's the owner Cliff just on the way out there, and we are subject to influences which shouldn't be there. The whole idea of newspapers not being biased, that's false. We have never, ever in this country had unbiased newspapers. They lean one way or the other. That's why we've got 8 major newspapers, ranging from the Daily Telegraph on the far right of the spectrum down to the Daily Star, and if you want to call it in, the Daily Worker, to the left of the spectrum. So you get all points of view reflected by the media. So the whole idea of everybody, newspapers mustn't be biased is not one that has any legs in terms of what we get and what we receive and what we are delivered in this country. But what is important is that we have, in the main, not had media that is under the influence of any particular organization. And unfortunately, we've got the BBC, for instance, is very subject to the thoughts of those people in charge of the BBC. It's from government and governance. The Sun, which has noticeably avoided a good many issues when others have been taking them up, is subject to the whims, if you like, of Rupert Murdoch, who has got a lot of money. He owns it, and when he wants anything pushed, then indeed he makes sure that he pushes them. So we've got a lot of things that are biased. And I'm happy to say that this television station, small and fragile though it is at the moment, but is growing in both stature and strength, and in the amount that it covers and the number of people that it influences or not influences or lays out the case to, is not influenced by anybody. I own it, and I determine what we shall do, and the reflection of any particular viewpoint is widespread, scattered. There is no single theme, because I am quite happy to have people on who are diametrically opposed to me in their thinking, in their aims and objectives, in the way that they do business and the way that they do life. I'm quite happy for that, because that gives us a balanced society. But it's when we hear that some people with vested interests in media are pushing for their newspaper or their television station or their radio station or whatever to take a particular stance. That is the big worry. That is the big problem. Right, the thought police issue we've been through. The police chiefs are accusing the Home Secretary of a power grab. In other words, is trying to take hold of more decision making on behalf of law and order and the police than the police chiefs are willing to give up. But I wonder once again whether one of the things of coming in from a biased community is that we tend to attract that bias, and that is not good stuff. That is not good stuff at all. The Daily Telegraph it picks up on this thing, and in fact, I've kidnapped Tony, our energy correspondent, and it'd be interesting to see whether anything happened to him while he goes out and. Well, he goes out into the highways and the byways to bring together a different thought, a different time and place. Right. Okay. So the Daily Star. The Daily Star has had a wonderful run over the last couple of weeks or so. I mean, first of all, it has suddenly become obsessed with life out there, and it can't take its hands off any material that will show that we are being watched by little green men. It also has become obsessed with the fact that our weather is of such significance that we should be reporting on it every hour, every day, every week, and indeed we are. Television cannot be or have the versatility that tailors do, but when it comes out to going out in as a family unit and coming back and saying something about what's going on is they're perfectly okay, and the Star, like anybody else, can have its say here. What they haven't done is they haven't said whether there is any bonus or reward for a journalist who actually takes a viewpoint and gets it right. That is a bit of a worrying thing. We'll just have to see. Just have to see how it all plays out. That sounds like a cop out, doesn't it? Never mind. Yeah, we. Oh yes, not a great deal to show you, and I am very conscious of boring you to death, and it is 10:57, We do, from time to time, under difficult circumstances, follow forward. We actually stop a little bit early, and that's what we're going to do this morning. So at 10:57, I'm just going to recap who we are. We are Mirador Television. We broadcast out of the White Hart Hotel in the centre of Lewes, in East Sussex. We are an experiment, if you like. We broadcast. We never know when we start off at 8:30 what we're going to talk about. We are guided by what's talked about in the rest of the news, but we are not particularly analysing things, bits and pieces, so that we can be articulate. We actually are trying hard to develop you, the average citizen, where they can actually, if you like, develop for themselves the philosophy that we actually preach, and that is get stuck in, give as good as you get, but don't get to the point where you think that you're so right that everybody else is wrong, and you're going to be a bit of a nasty and a bit of an arsehole, if I may say so, if I can use that expression. It's 11 o'clock. I'm going to say toodle pip. Thank you for being with us. Sorry it's a bit discombobulated this morning, but undoubtedly we will try to be better. We will be better. And tomorrow we have a different viewpoint on a whole host of things because we'll have our full facilities back. Right, okay, at 10:59. Good morning, toodle pip.